description on YouTube as well as Facebook. So just go ahead and email me or look me up on Facebook, and then you can find me there. Okay, and then we'll get the debate set up and we'll go from there.
I appreciate it. And Vocab Malone, you clearly won this debate.
All right.
Shout out to Cincinnati.
All right, Ezra, gonna go ahead and let you go, and shalom.
Shalom.
All right, Vocab, you got anything that you want to say before we move on to the next person?
Well, it's good to have some clarity in these things. I mean, Paul, uses the term ministry of death in 2 Corinthians 3:7-9. Now, he's not saying something's wrong with the law. So even though I understand we're not under the Mosaic law in the way Ahmayan thinks, it's not Paul saying there's something inherently wrong with the law. It's just, what is the law intended for? Because remember, the law is given by God. And the gentleman brought up a great point. He talked about things that were carved in letters on stone. That's clear a reference to at least the Decalogue. So he can't try that oral rabbi non-stuff there. The problem is Israel was stiff-necked under the old covenant. And that's because commandments cannot give people the power to obey them. So what happens is the effect of the commandments, because there's not true internal circumcision, ends up being condemnation. And that's what 2 Corinthians 3:9 says. And so this giving of the law, even though it was given with great glory, the Israelites couldn't gaze directly at Moses' face, which Paul brings that up, and the light of God's glory shone on it and all that. The people were afraid, right? They couldn't even look at him. It was so bright and painful to the eyes. His argument is that this old covenant was temporary and ineffective in changing hearts. That's why he calls it a ministry of death. But he's not saying it's bad or evil or wicked. It still had glory. But the thing is, the new covenant superior. And that's why he says the ministry of spirit has even more glory. It must far exceed the old covenant in glory. And the new covenant ministry can bring righteousness, which is right standing before God, rather than condemnation. Again, 2 Corinthians 3:9. And so now we truly have the glorious presence of God's power, which does transform believers, and as Paul says in verse 18, from one degree of glory to another. So the brother's right, but we just got to put it in context what Paul is saying. And I appreciate his point.
All right. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the next.